What's up, Hoop Reporters? It's your boy Manny here as we get ready for episode 9 of the Hoop Report, the NAIA Women's Basketball Podcast. Special guests for this one, another coach's interview as we get ready. This week is GSAC and Southern State's Athletic Conference. Already had one Southern State coach. Go ahead and listen to that previous episode if you haven't. Now we're going to be talking to somebody from the GSAC, Mr. Coach Ben York from the GSAC. Coach at Park University, Gilbert, the Buccaneers. Coach, thank you so much for coming on and spending some time and talking a little bit about this very high-octane, very exciting Park team that I know we're gonna deep dive into the numbers and all that kind of stuff. But thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Love what you're doing. Appreciate the opportunity.
Pleasure's all mine for sure, Coach. We'll start off the court, though. You and I talked about it. I know it's something that you hold near and dear to your heart, and I think it would not be right for me to start this interview without talking about it. For those who don't know, just to set it up for him, there is a duo on that staff right now, in the program, I should say, that Coach York is a part of, that I don't know if I've ever heard a story better than this one. I'm going to let him kind of talk about it, but Coach, all I want to know is how has that affected your relationship with this specific player, as well as just overall your outlook on life and everything off the court when it comes to this?
Yeah. So just some background. I've been a cancer survivor for over about 25-ish years now, and so doing great. Met my wife. We were both counselors at a camp for kids with cancer, so my wife and I are both cancer survivors. And the kind of ironic part is now a player who's coming to play for us named Haley Valencia is also a cancer survivor. So she's, is a warrior. She's doing great. But to my knowledge, I think we're probably, as far as I know, the only player coach duo in the country who are both cancer survivors. So it's amazing to have her here. My wife works for the National Bone Marrow Donor Program. And so she helps cancer patients find bone marrow donors and transplants to help them kind of with diseases like blood cancers, like leukemia and that kind of thing. And, that's something that we've helped. Haley has started off at Park her freshman year and got a really good opportunity. She's a heck of a player, went over to a D2, Western Colorado, and that's when she was diagnosed. And so we kind of just had maintained, just a, relationship just when she had left, cared about her as a player, and kind of helped her and her family through the journey, the cancer journey. And, luckily Haley ended up getting a bone marrow transplant and is doing great. She's been here for kind of player workouts and looks great. And so it's just the kind of, as you mentioned, it keeps things in perspective. And just to see her happy and doing well, it's bigger than basketball. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting story for sure.
No, absolutely. And I do think you, Haley, your wife, you all deserve a round of applause for each one of you having a different role in a process like this. Obviously, with your wife being a part of the bone marrow process, you being someone who can be an advocate for, life after and being able to get through such adversity. I am more than ecstatic that both of you, all of you, were able to get through it, still be able to do what you want to do, love to do. And I think that's obviously the biggest thing. Like you said, the perspectives never get lost in that process. Another thing you love to do, though, Coach, you love to shoot the ball. You love to shoot the ball.
We do. Yeah.
I can see that from the numbers. You're entering year 3 at Park, and that number 3 really exemplifies a lot for you guys. And I'm sure that this year is going to be very special. The style you guys play, high pace, fast, run and gun. We're playing on almost 3-point line and 3-point line. In a day and age where it feels like everybody plays that way, I feel like there's very few that play it with an actual purpose. They don't just do it to copycat. Basketball is a copycat sport. Why did you choose that style? What about that style just kind of fit your way of coaching and something that you wanted to continue to build on at your program?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think we try to be, that's just the way I like to. I think basketball is more fun that way. And I think that at our level, if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. And so I think that the players that we recruit, they know that they're going to come in, they're going to get playing time, they're going to get the opportunity to shoot. And a lot of it stems from when I worked for the Phoenix Mercury. So that was, it was almost almost 20 years now, which is great. Well, closer to 50, between 15 and 20 years. And so I learned a lot I just kind of soaked up everything from Corey Gaines, who was, he's now the men's Japanese national coach. And so he's been a great mentor to me over the years, but he learned under Paul Westhead. So it was the Lakers disciple, run and gun, all that stuff. So I just soaked up whatever I could from Corey and kind of put our own twist on it. And so far it's so far so good. Last year was really the first year that we've been able to truly implement how fast we want to play, and we're trying to take it to another level this year.
No, absolutely. And I think, because you are the fourth or fifth coach we've had now on the podcast, each one different part in their coaching career. I do think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the third year especially feels like the first year for a lot of coaches that finally get the opportunity. Is that what you're kind of going in with this third year? Like, this is the year I've had a full off season. I've had a full year under my belt. Like, I've gotten used to all that in season, out of season, all that kind of stuff. Do you feel like the third year is the first year in a way for some coaches?
Yeah, I think it's a really good way to put it. And I think it takes a while to establish the culture you want, and it can't be done overnight. And I think we're closer to that. I think I don't think any coach is ever going to be like, yeah, we feel really good, like 100% that's going to be perfect. But I think we've made a lot of progress with the players that are coming in and the players that want to play in a system like this. We've had a couple of D2 transfers coming in. And so I think this year is really key. And I think it has to do with consistency. And I think that's, you establish the culture, you establish the way that you want to play, and you do it every single day and hope that it pays, that the results work out and pays dividends at the end. So it's a really good point you made. I think this year we're 100% all on the same page. I think just from the start, we have the basis, and I think now it's up to me and to the staff to try to take it to another level and to provide the resources for the team that all they have to worry about is going out. They understand what is expected of them and just to play.
No, absolutely. Full Sail System's a great name. I love that name. I think that's a great name. But my favorite's got to be Shooter U. Shooter U might be the best one. I don't know if you guys have your own takes on it and all that kind of stuff, but I think Shooter U is appropriate, and it's just awesome. I love that name. You all surpassed 300 made threes last season, which was better than some D1s, arguably a lot of D1s last year, in less games. You guys had 25 games, I believe. Every other team on that list had at least 30. And then you all were ranked number 2 in the NAIA in three-point shooting with 102 makes. You all averaged about 12 per game. Top 15 offense with almost 80 points per game. Elite all across the board. And there's a lot of coaches out there that would love to have that type of program. My question is, what about your offense from last year really just left you in awe? It just really was the one thing that you could point to and say, this is the most that I'm proud of from this offense last year that had so many things good about it. What to you just stood out over everything else?
Yeah, I think more than anything, it's not necessarily the stats. Like, we're super excited about that and what the girls were able to accomplish. I think for me, it was making sure that they had the confidence to do it. And so in our system, we want to shoot. We tell the girls all the time, we want to shoot over 90 times a game. We want to shoot between 40 and 50 threes per game. And sometimes people look at me like I'm crazy when I say that, and the girls sometimes do too. But when the key to doing all of that is to stop thinking so much. And so we don't, with how fast we play, you don't have time to worry about a missed shot. You don't have time to feel bad or get mad at yourself because we're having to go right back on the defensive end. So I think more than anything, it's making sure that from the minute they get here, that everyone feels supported and that they're able to take those chances. So that's like, should I shoot or should I not shoot? And the answer is yes, you should shoot, because the whole premise of how we play is we have to shoot the ball, and then we have to aggressively attack the offensive glass, which that's got to improve this year too. But I think that the basis of all of that stuff is to making sure that they know that if they shoot, I'm not going to pull them out of the game. It's not going to be that type of relationship. They need to feel that they can trust me and I trust them to take a shot that they believe that they can make. So that's really what I was most proud of last year, is making strides in that area.
When you have a system like that, and is that the hardest thing to kind of manage as the coach, is the confidence aspect of it? Because just because you're a great shooter doesn't mean you're going to be perfect all year. You're going to go through slumps. You're going to have high points, low points. It's part of the game. Sometimes the ball just doesn't want to go in, and you can tell the difference between someone who's just having an off night and someone that is just not there in their game. Is the confidence the biggest thing that you're kind of having to battle, you and your staff, with your players throughout the year? Because like you said, if you're shooting 40 to 50 times a night, at some point, you're going to go through a little bit of a dry spell. It's nothing crazy. You're going to get out of it. But is that the biggest thing, confidence, saying, look, I don't want you to go 0 for 10. I want you to go 0 for 20, because that means you kept shooting. The confidence never wavered. Is that kind of the biggest thing?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it. I think that in our system, a lot of what we do is backwards. So like up is down, down is up, right is left, left is right. And so, I think a lot of girls come in and other programs that are, and it's not right or wrong. It's just different philosophies that other coaches want them to work the ball around and get the best shot. With how we play, we believe 95% of the time, the first shot that you get is the best shot. And so it's trying to train them to like, wait, should I shoot this? If I shoot it if I'm playing for another coach or another program, if I miss it, I'm going to get subbed out of the game. But that's just not our philosophy. And so how we play is we just want the girls to make sure that we work it every day in practice, that when we rep it so that they don't, it's going to miss, and you're going to miss shots in basketball. And like you said, so it's really just making sure that when that happens, it's not going to be it's when that happens that they don't immediately lose that confidence or get down on themselves, that they got to get it back, and then they'll just keep shooting it again. So in theory, they would never be out of rhythm. So that's some of the basis of how we play. So yeah, confidence is a really big one that we see, and we try to establish that from day one when they get here.
No, absolutely. Again, this game is probably 80-90% mental. The rest of it is the skill stuff. So yeah. I know the confidence is probably the biggest thing. Speaking of Shooter U, though, top of the class. You had some great ones, but I do think your top of the class students, so to speak, at the university were your two first team all-conference players, Kayla Schroeder and Savannah Ureta. Savannah, 17 points per game, shooting 42% from the field, 39, I'm going to give her 40 from the three-point line, and 94% from the free throw line. I know I definitely want to put that in there because I think there's a notion out there that if you're a shooter, you can't really make free throws. I don't think that correlates at all, but some people out there think that, so I'm going to let you know that's not the case. Savannah's living proof of that. But her shooting ability at all three levels, what makes it so awesome to watch? Like, what is it about her ability to, again, a first team scout player, that's what I like to call them. She knows, the other team knows that she's going to be probably top 3 on the scouting report every single time we play them, but it don't matter because she's still able to shoot the ball at just a high level. Talk a little bit about her ability to do that.
Yeah, Savvy. We're going to miss Savvy. She was a really, we wish she had some more years of eligibility for us, but yeah, we're going to miss her a lot. But she brought just a quiet confidence. And so I think that, kind of like you mentioned in the previous question, is just that, she could miss a few in a row and she could make it a few in a row, and the expression on her face, you would never know if she's doing great, or bad, if she feels like she's having a rough game or a great game. And that's really the what we try to preach to everybody. So it's just that staying level, staying consistent. And so, Savvy, there are some times in practice where her range is inside the half court line, and she can, sometimes she would just come up and pull up, and it was like watching Steph Curry shoot some of these practices. And and that's her favorite player, coincidentally, I guess. But it's, just seeing her, we're going to miss her a lot, but she has helped us to lay that foundation along with Kayla. And so, laying that foundation of what we want the program to be about.
No, and legacy and foundation is literally the next question, because her splash sister, so to speak, in Kayla, she was right behind her. 15 points, 43% from the field, 40% from the three-point line, 87% from the free throw line. What is the legacy that those two ladies are going to leave at Parkview? What is going to be the foundation that they have walked away from by laying it for the future generations to come of Buccaneers?
Yeah, Kayla is, I talk about Kayla all the time, especially when when we're recruiting, and we just say like she represents the program. She got her undergraduate degree and her graduate degree at Park. So she's been here since she's a freshman. We were used to be in the CalPAC conference, so she was a CalPAC all-conference player. She was an All-American, conference player of the year. So it's just like she did it the right way, and she did it by getting others involved, being consistent. But when you look to Park, you think, especially Park women's basketball, like Kayla helped kind of put us on the map. And I don't think we get to the position that we're in to hopefully be continue to be successful without Kayla's kind of dedication and what she was able to do. But she did a little bit of everything. If we needed her to, hit 30 points or score, she would do that. If we needed her to facilitate, she would do that. Rebound, she would do a little bit of everything. And that's, I think it's every coach's dream to have a player like that.
Absolutely. And as we turn the page for next year, I kind of have two key points, for me at least, looking, and be honest, haven't looked too much into the GSAC just yet. You guys are right on the edge of the, by the time this is going to come out, I would have done a deep dive, I'll be an expert. But as of right now, when we're recording this, just going off of what you guys, there's two things I really want to talk about. First one, a person. I'm looking at Alina Palacios, I hope I'm saying that right, the reigning GSAC Defensive Player of the Year, soon to be walking double-double. She wasn't that this year technically, but I'm sure she's had of those nights. 11 points, 8.9 rebounds. The most impressive skill might be her defense. 4 steals almost a game, and that's unreal along with the block as well. What do you want to see from her to be a consistent and a for sure thing of a two-way elite player? I think she's a great player right now on both sides of the ball. What do you want to see from her to become an elite player and really help you guys next year in the GSAC?
Yeah, we have her expectations and her dedication and her work ethic are pretty special. So we call her AP, and AP's she is. So I equate her to DeWanna Bonner a little bit. So I think if you're a women's basketball fan, DeWanna Bonner. She's got a real tall, real skinny body, but she's durable and just fast. She's like a gazelle. And so AP is like that too. And so I joke with AP, I'm like, you've modeled your game after DeWanna Bonner, but AP's she's so fast with the ball. And I think this year we're really expecting her to take that next step with scoring. She did defensively. She was amazing for us. Obviously 4 steals a game. She had a triple double. I think she had 10 steals in one game. It might've been 11 early on. And so she's, we lost to the Masters in the conference semis last year, and she had 27 points and 15 rebounds. And I was playing her out of position. We were down some of our bigs throughout the year, and she has no business being in kind of like that 4 spot, and she stepped up and she delivered. And so I think this year we're really looking for her shot has gotten better. The way that she's attacking the basket has gotten better, and her leadership is taking another step. So yeah, we have some really, really high expectations, and she does it. She's kind of a leave it all on the floor type of player. So we can't wait to get her rolling.
No, absolutely. And a nickname like AP might be the coldest nickname I've ever heard. That's great. Whoever came up with that, you guys deserve a raise or something for that, because that is a good one for sure. When you talk about defense for a player like her, I see the 4 steals, and again, the 4 steals jump out, no question about it. But all I can think of is, what about the ones that she didn't get accounted for, but she was still a part of? So talk a little bit about someone like her defensive just awareness. You hear about gravity a lot on offense, the shooting, all that kind of stuff. There's gravity on defense too. If I'm driving and I know she's on the court, I'm thinking about it. I'm kind of wondering where she is. So talk a little bit about the defensive gravity that she has shown and will continue to show going into this season.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, because a lot of what she does, she gets a lot of it depends on where she's playing on the floor, because we can play her at any of the position. We can play her up on the ball. We can play her on the wing or the right wing, left wing. So we can play her as the interceptor. But what doesn't show up is if she's involved in the trap, she's forcing whoever has the ball to make maybe a bad pass that creates a steal for someone else. And that would, like to your point, would never show up in any of the stats. But I mean, in terms of deflections, number 1 on the team last year. And, I think there were some games where we felt, like, man, she should have averaged 6 or 7 steals a game, just based on tips and, going back and looking and rewatching film. And so I think that, to your point, she's so smart, and so she can be aggressive on ball if she needs to be. But if she sees her couple teammates involved in the trap, she knows how to like hide herself and disguise herself in that interceptor spot, to where she can, kind of just like a gazelle, or like, looking at her prey, like kind of sneak up on the other player. And so she's gotten stronger this offseason too. We've asked her to get a little bit stronger. And so I think, from a physical standpoint, she's as strong and as healthy as she's ever been. So yeah, super excited.
No, absolutely. The second point, 14 returners to go along with 16 newcomers. I don't think you see a balance like that a lot, especially in the day and age that we live in now when it comes to transferring, all that kind of stuff. I do have 2 returners specifically. We talked about AP, and she might be the focal point, because we do expect a big leap from her. But 2 people that I think some are sleeping on, Hamani Kalia and Larkin Hawar, combined 12 13.7 points per game while shooting 35 plus each from the field and from three. Why should more people be on alert for them? Why should people kind of be understanding of this?
Yeah, I agree. So Manny's been through it. She's been through it. So she's had, she's coming back from an ACL last year. And so she wasn't really ready to go physically. I mean, she was there, but it took her a while to get back into things. And so she wasn't really ready to go until conference play. And so she was starting to really get her stride and feeling healthy really in January. And so she is similar. She and Savannah are very, very similar in terms of their shot. There's times where Manny just takes it over in practice, and it's something special to watch. And so I think that I was really happy for her because she's came back from a few ACLs, and she keeps grinding, and the mental fortitude it takes to come back, not just from one, but two, but three, is something special. And so I could talk about Manny all day. She and Larkin are both going to be senior captains for us. They are great to our incomers. They kind of take on a big sister role to a lot of our incoming players. So I'm excited for her. I think she was 5th in the conference despite playing in 5 or 6 less games than anyone in threes. And so, I'm really looking forward to a healthy year from her. Larkin is another. It'll be a senior captain coming back, and I've played her just based on things that happen. I've had to play her out of position, and we've had just due to some eligibility stuff for whatever reason, injuries to our rim runner, our 5. We've had to put Larkin, who's more of a 3 or a 4, into that 5 spot, which hasn't been fair to her. Never once complained. But we're hoping this year that we can actually play her in her natural position, which is that 4 spot, that trailer spot. She had a really good game against our conference, one of our conference rivals at Ottawa. She had 20 points, had 6 threes in that game. So we're hoping that she can kind of take that next step. But it's actually nothing that she's doing. It's on me to make sure that we put her in the right spot to make her successful. So they're both really, really good kids, and just like Kayla and AP, just really exemplative of what we want the program to be about.
No, we love coaches that take accountability just as much as the players do. That's the biggest thing for sure. The other thing, like I mentioned, 16 newcomers. We already talked about one. I know you'll probably deep dive a little bit more. But asking you to mention not just 16, 15, it would be unfair. So I would rather you describe this recruiting class. Describe to me the transfers and the freshmen that are coming in this year, and there's a bunch of winners on there. That there's a bunch of obviously players who can shoot the ball. We all know that. But what word or words would you use to describe the 16 players that are going to be part of this Buccaneers team for 25-26?
Yeah, another good question. So I think you mentioned shooters. We always look for shooters, but I think what we look for is just that. What we have been missing in the past few years and what we've been focusing on is just that has that it factor. And you can tell, like, if anyone, yourself, you're involved in recruiting and all of that stuff, and you see it, you go to these tournaments and you just look for, it doesn't have to be anything. It's not, a lot of people think, when a lot of high schoolers I talk to, or they think that they need to put up 20 points a game, or they think they need to, put this highlight film of them, between the leg, all this fancy stuff. And really it's just, if you carry yourself with an energy on the floor, and there's that it factor, and you can just tell, like, coaches can just tell what that means. And it's different for every coach. For me, I think it is, there's like a certain type of confidence, humility, and swag that we look for. And, we feel like all of the players that we have coming in really have that. We have, just to highlight one of them, we have a D2 transfer from Point Loma, Allie Cummings, who's probably one of the best shooters in the nation. And so we're really excited about her. But she just has that quiet confidence that just it's just that energy. And it sounds cliche and maybe sounds corny to people, but I think that a lot of coaches just look for that feeling, that energy. And they're really great people too. They're great people who happen to be really good basketball players. And I think that if you have that, then that's the basis for everything you want to do.
No, absolutely. And next question, recruits, the incoming Bucks. I'm trying to give you guys a quick help here for those who weren't able to be there for the summer workouts and stuff. Less is more is what it sounds like. It sounds like, I think, and I know that to be the fact, as you get older, especially, I'm not going to talk about all sports, but at least from basketball, less is more as you get older. The tweens and all that kind of stuff, that isn't really gonna be flying no more. If you can get to your spots, 2 dribbles or less, get to those shots. Is that the main thing you look for when we talk about shot selection for your system? We talked about, you said your best shot might be the first shot, so don't hesitate to shoot it. Is that what you're going to be preaching to the new players, the 16 new players? Because it's probably going to be an adjustment, like you mentioned, new coach, new style that probably is rare, I would say, nowadays for the way that you kind of implore them to shoot the ball when they have the opportunity to. Is that what you're going to be kind of sending the message? Less is more. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, it's simple. So it's funny you say that because, and we didn't even talk about this, but one of my favorite, and I tell them, we just had our team meeting last week. And so one of my favorite quotes that I live by is an old quote about anybody can make the simple complicated, but true creativity is making the complicated simple. And so that's really what it is. So when we say that to recruits or the players coming in, it sounds easy. We want to shoot the ball 90 to 100 times a game. We're pressing and doubling everywhere, and we want to shoot between 40 and 50 threes. So yeah, it sounds simple, but really what it boils down to is effort. And like you said, getting to your spot. We teach that, when we're able to kind of go into our practice, the official practices in September, that's one of the first things we go to is just sprinting to your spot. And there's nothing sexy about it, but it takes effort. And if you can do that in our system, you will be able to shoot the ball anywhere from 10 to 20 times a game. And so that's kind of, I hope that it is exciting to the newcomers coming in, because maybe they didn't have that opportunity before. But as long as you get to your spots and you make quick decisions, keep it simple, then it should be a fun experience. I hope that makes sense.
No, absolutely. I mean, I always say basketball, however you want to look at it, it's either the most complicated, simple thing in the world, or it's the most simple, complicated thing in the world. However you want to look at it, yeah. Point being, it can be very simple, and it can be very, very nice when it is simple. So I completely understand what you're saying. Got 2 more questions for you here, Coach. Even though this is a high 3-point shooting team in the system, and we didn't talk about offense pretty much for the most part this entire interview, this is not Mike D'Antoni, folks. There is no double offense, half defense. This is a defensive team as well. They were 9th in the NAIA when it came to steals per game at 13, and you held teams under 75 points, which some people might look at it as that's a lot. But again, when you play a high style yourself, the opponents are gonna get up more possessions as well. So it's still impressive for you guys to keep teams under 75. Granted, there's extra possessions that most games are not going to be having. And you guard the 3 ball very well, which I think is something that a lot of 3-point shooting teams don't really do. They don't really guard the 3 ball that well. You keep teams under 30%. Talk to me about how your offense actually helps your defense, how this high-octane offense is contributing to the other side of the ball, maybe more than people actually realize.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's for as fast as we want our offense to mirror our defense. And so we want to be just as aggressive defensively as we are offensively. And so, we're a pretty aggressive press. We want to take chances defensively. So we don't want people to, just like we preach, we don't want them to hesitate on the offensive end. We also don't want them to hesitate on the defensive end. With how fast we play, to your point, I think sometimes the numbers can seem like, we do allow maybe more points per game, but I think there's just more possessions, and I think that it can kind of get a bad rap sometimes, to where it's like, oh wow, they allow 80 points a game, but it's also we want to score between 90 and 100 points a game, and so it's just going to happen naturally. Having said that, there's a lot of improvement for this year, specifically rebounding. That's been a big focus for us. And if we don't rebound the ball on either end of the floor, it doesn't do anybody any good. And so I know it sounds simple and cliche, but I think defensively, we spend just as much time defensively as we do offensively in practice. And so it's a matter of and it goes back to confidence too. And so you have to be in shape. You have to feel like you have the freedom to take chances, both offensively and defensively, and you're relying on your teammates no matter what. So if you take a chance, you know that you have your teammate, a couple or multiple teammates behind you that are going to be able to help you recover. And so it's chaotic, but I just think it's just basketball season just is more fun that way, in my opinion.
No, absolutely. Before I get to the last question, I am curious: is there a story that you can tell us from the way that you play in the system, and how it maybe has, a player came up to you and said, "Coach, this is the best I've ever played. This is the most fun," or anything like that, a moment that really sticks out to you, that if for someone who maybe doesn't understand what we're talking about, when they hear the story, that it'll kind of click for them of, oh, I see how this kind of affects the players in a beneficial type of way.
Yeah, I think a couple actually. So and I'll keep them shorter. But I think um, what Savannah did for us last year, she's always been a great shooter. But I think that there wasn't necessarily that fun aspect to it, and so she, just the way that she described it was the most fun that she's ever had playing basketball. To me, as a coach, like that's what I want from everybody. I know it's not ever going to be perfect, but. And I think the other part is that we've had a lot of players the last couple of years come up and say like, they've struggled with confidence to where if they miss a shot, they're out of the game. If they make a mistake, they're out of the game. And since joining this how we play, just to see their confidence, and I think the confidence on the floor translates to what they're able to do as women off the floor, and so that's really important to us as well. And then the last thing, a couple of our players have said, because I try to I'm like hands-on in terms of communication, and a couple of them have said, man, every time at my previous school, if I got a text from the coach, my heart would sink, my stomach would drop. And I'm like, man, that's the last thing we want from what we're doing here. We want you to be like, hey, coach is texting me, like, everything cool. And so, we just try to, it sounds super cliche, but there's a lot of work that goes into it to making sure that they just feel comfortable, that they feel valued, and we hope that all of that translates into confidence on the floor.
No, absolutely, and from personal experience, every kid at some point in their career, when you play basketball or any sports, that mental block is going to come, especially if you want to play at the highest level possible. It's part of the process, I do think, and every kid has to go through it. It is important to have coaches such as yourself to help them through it, and I commend you for that, because again, in a world where it might not be as common as we would hope, it is nice to hear that there are plenty of coaches out there just like yourself that are doing that. Last question for you, Coach. Year 3, like I mentioned, the previous 2 years have been very good, very successful. We're talking 2 back-to-back GSAC semifinal appearances, both obviously not ending the way you wanted it to. What is it about year 3? What will it take for third time to be the charm in a way and break that glass ceiling that I truly believe y'all have? If you guys weren't contenders, or in some people's eyes contenders last year, I think that's a completely easy thing to say this year. But what is it going to take for in-house that belief to be in there every single night of saying, hey, we're tired of being in the semifinals. We want to be one of the last 2 teams standing in a very good and very formidable GSAC conference.
Yeah. I think we have, we lost Kayla and Savvy, which is like, that's never great when you lose 2 players like that. However, the core that we have coming back is intact. And so we have about 10 players that understand and have played in how fast we want to play. And there's some that, we didn't talk about it a whole lot, but the injuries were a real killer for us. And so I think the focus on this year is, number one, if we can stay healthy. A lot of times at the end of the season, man, like with how much talent there is, whoever's healthy at the end of the year or healthiest is going to be in it. And so that's been our focus, is to prevent injury prevention and that kind of thing. But really it's about making sure that, and I put it all on me. I don't put it on the players that we haven't crossed that conference championship or getting to nationals yet. I think it's on me to communicate better, make sure that everyone understands their role. And I think that's been a huge focus since we lost to the Masters, who ended up going on to winning the conference championship. They were a heck of a team. They're always a heck of a team. And so there's a lot of teams in our conference that we're doing our best to compete with. But that was right when we ended that conference championship. It was going back to, what do I need to do better? How do I need to teach what we want to do on both ends of the floor better? So I put it all on me, and the team knows that. I take accountability for that. And so I think that that's been the focus this year, is like making sure that we kind of do a reset, communicate better, recruit players that can come in and make an immediate impact, which we really feel like we have, both from a rebounding standpoint, from a shooting standpoint. So this is the best that I've felt going into, September. And so I could not be more excited, and hope the excitement continues for the Curls.
No, absolutely. And I'm excited for you. I don't even have a jersey. We're not even in the same state, and I'm excited for you. So I can only imagine how excited they are. No, it's great to hear. I think as you get in the higher levels of basketball, it kind of boils down to, let the coach be the reason you lose. But by that, I mean, If this is our game plan, this is what we're going to go out. If I told you that this girl is a shooter and she goes out and gives us 30, putting the ball on the ground, I didn't do my job in scouting. But if we go out and give her 30 and y'all let her shoot jumpers, y'all didn't do it with what I said. So I think that's such a refreshing is the best way to put how this interview has gone, because in a world where some coaches might not be thinking that way, it's great to hear that someone is able to do it and continue to do it, and the players sound like happy. Again, coach, if you ever need an extra shooter, let me know. I'll get on the next flight, and I'm out there, and we'll figure it out. But, Coach, this is a great interview. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Everybody, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Thank you.